12 o'clock on your Tuesday afternoon now. Welcome in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head back. First time in a couple days. Guess I was last in here on Thursday, maybe? No, filled in for Jen at the end of, Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday last week. No, farther back than that. Wait a minute. I think it's been a full week since I've been on this show. Oh, I know. I filled in for Jen a couple days at the end of last week. Glad I remember where all the buttons are. Terry Ford will be along with me, as always, fashionably late here in just a couple minutes as we dive into the latest of what's going on around not only the Gamecocks, but everything else going on in the world of sports as we get set for what's a more lively December than what we've been used to, right? Now December has ramped up these past couple of years. 2018 is when you had the first early signing day, and then the portal became what the portal's become to where all that's going on as of right now. Typically in terms of like the on-field stuff in college football, there was a little reprieve. I mean, of course, Army-Navy plays this Saturday, as always, for that second, weekend in December. But bowl games start this weekend too. One of the low-end bowl games is right after, I guess, the Heisman Trophy ceremony on Saturday night. And next weekend, you've got the first-round playoff games. There's really no, lull in December anymore, right? Because there's always something going on. And, I really feel for coaches, and I know Coach Beamer talked about this the other day with how chaotic this month is. Let's just say you're you're Dan Lanning. Let's say you're Kirby Smart or any coach like that, James Franklin. You just, in the past week, had to sign your 2025 class while getting ready for a conference championship game and knowing you were going to be in the playoff no matter what happened. So while you're dealing with all this portal stuff and, your own players trying to leave and guys wanting to come in and all this kind of stuff, you're also getting ready for the most important games of your entire season as you're still in pursuit of a national championship. And the coaches get paid a lot of money, and rightfully so, for the job that they do and the money that their sport commands. But I don't envy what they have to juggle this time of year. And the ones that are able to do it really, really well, deserve to be, acknowledged for that, because it is not easy by any means. Of course, Beamer's plate's a little bit lighter in terms of, the Citrus Bowl being 3 weeks away. Actually, in fact, 3 weeks from today is when they'll be playing it against Illinois, compared to, sandwiching all this kind of stuff between a conference championship game and, theoretically a first-round playoff game or whatever it may be. But nevertheless, a very busy month, for Beamer and company, as well as, signed a very solid 2025 class that they're rightfully very excited about, some of the guys coming in and what kind of impact they're going to have. And now we'll look at the transfer portal. And look, it opened up yesterday, and we just talked there at the end of the 11 o'clock hour, myself, Wes, and Chris, that, really until guys start coming on campus visits and stuff, that's when, there seems to be a little bit more attention paid to individual guys in the portal. Because we can sit here, all day long and speculate of this guy would be a good fit and that guy would be a good fit. And, if a guy is a high enough level name out there, then guess what? He's going to get a lot of looks from a lot of people, right? And that is something to always, take with a grain of salt when they say, oh, South Carolina should be interested in this guy. Wait until, it becomes a little more legitimate before kind of jumping on that. But again, this guy, Josh Thompson, a offensive lineman out of Northwestern, is reporting to Pete Nikos Von 3, scheduled to be visiting South Carolina soon. So there might be some smoke to that, and see if he could potentially add himself to the Dylan Stewart and the Garnet Trust coming, looking into an agreement for the next year. And there was a number figure thrown out there. We don't have that confirmed as of right now, so I won't say what that exact number figure was, but it was in the seven figures. And when you look at the level of production that Dylan Stewart had as a true freshman that turned a lot of heads from a lot of people around the country, that makes sense. Now, I see a lot of people that are, still upset that this is the way we're doing things in college football, and I get it. It's a far cry from where we were even only a handful of years ago, but it's the nature of the beast as right now. And if you want to be successful in today's college football, you have to be able to retain your athletes, and that is done through NIL money, Whether you like it or not, that's just how it has to be. And kudos to Garnet Trust and everybody involved with that for making sure they got what they needed. Because I can guarantee you, Dylan Stewart, as soon as he started producing earlier on the season, because here's the thing, you bring in a 5-star at any spot, the expectations for them are going to be sky high. Because again, being a 5-star is essentially saying you are projected to be a first-round pick in the NFL if your college career goes the way that we think that all the experts think it's going to go. It doesn't always happen that way, but that's the initial anticipation and what the excitement level for 5 stars stems from. And as soon as Stewart started looking like he was already living up to that billing with plenty more football left to be played in college, I imagine his phone rang quite a bit on where he could go and where he could make probably a lot of money playing college football. And knowing that, Carolina had their work cut out for them, making sure that they got what would comfortably retain him, which they seemingly have done. And so good for them. And that is something that you don't have to sweat in the offseason, something that we know is going to be back for next year and back and even better. Because, again, true freshman, right? True freshman that, if I remember correctly, was he here in the spring? I can't remember. Either way, the progress he had in year number 1 gives you a lot of excitement for how much better he can be in year number 2 and how much better he can be in year number 3, where he could very well end up actually being that first-round draft pick here in a couple of years. And that's going to be interesting to see now that Kyle Kennard is obviously moving on to the pros, what that edge room looks like in terms of how they play it on the field. Obviously got guys returning. I imagine there's going to be a lot of interest from the transfer portal and guys that want to kind of come and fill in that void left behind by Kyle Kennard. Because, again, when you're talking about edge, if you already have one very established guy on one side, playing that opposite probably can take a lot of attention off you, which, again, and Kyle Kennard in his own right was doing well regardless, but when you have that threat of Dylan Stewart on the other side, they have to pick and choose. Okay, well, we're going to double-team Stewart. Well, guess what? That frees up Kyle Kennard on the other side. So if you transfer in as another veteran edge player, you can say, okay, well, they're going to pay more attention to Dylan Stewart. I'm going to go get mine, and eventually they'll start paying attention to me more, and then Dylan Stewart will get his, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be interesting to see how much more attractive, even more attractive, I guess is the better way to phrase it, this defense becomes to want to come and join, knowing that the anchor of your defense in Dylan Stewart is coming back for another season, which is, again, certainly exciting. And, again, credit to everyone at the Garnet Trust and everything for getting that deal done and that way and doing it, within 24-ish hours of the portal opening. That way there's no debate or question as we go through the next couple weeks or month or so about what exactly the deal was with Dylan Stewart. Again, we knew as soon as he started producing at a high level this year, you're going to have to do whatever you can to retain him because the suitors are going to come trying to snatch him away from you, and that's the last thing you want is to have your prized 5-star freshman, pried out of your hands by somebody else that just threw a bigger check at him or whatever it may be. So, again, good to see him back. Excited for what he's going to be coming up next season. As he's gotten a lot of buzz through the back half of this season just because how well he started off. But can you imagine? He's probably going to be thought of as one of the best defensive players in the entire country going in to next season. And again, you talk about a good recruiting tool. That's a pretty darn good recruiting tool, if you ask me, to be able to sell that, hey, you can come play alongside one of the best defensive players there is in college football. And somebody that, again, if he continues to play the way that he has, will very likely find himself being a first-round pick here in a couple years heading off to the NFL. So that was good news this morning. And again, there wasn't like a threat, it seemed like, that he was going to leave. Obviously, seems like he really loves Columbia, loves Coach Beamer, Coach Lucas, all that kind of stuff. So it was just making sure you got him what he needed to make sure there was no, thoughts of wanting to go somewhere else. And again, that's all locked up. It's all done. And Dylan Stewart returning to South Carolina for the 2025 season. Elsewhere in the edge room, you had Kyle Kennard, who last night up in Charlotte received the Bronco Nagurski Award, which goes to the best defensive player in the entire nation, and a award that has never been won prior by anybody at South Carolina. Here's a little bit of what Kyle Kennard had to say in accepting that award.
Honored to win this award. This past offseason was a flipping stone as far as my mindset. I knew I wanted different from myself. I knew I wanted more from myself. And coming to South Carolina was the first part of me doing that. And I feel like when I got here, or I got to Columbia more so, the people that were in the building, the people that talked to me every day, just the fans in Columbia I'd see at a supermarket or something like that, they never failed to give me support and things like that. So I just want to give a huge shout out to them. And then to say that, or with saying that, I want to say that they were like the 12th man a lot of the times. Like when we had games, when I felt like I had a bad stretch of games, or when there was a controversial call that was plagued my way, I feel like they did a good job of being supportive, and that just helped me a lot through the season. So I just want to make sure I mention that. But I appreciate everyone who voted for me, and thanks. And I'm looking forward to coming back here next year to see who wins next year.
Of course, very well-deserved honor, 11.5 sacks on the season. If he plays in the bowl game, he could potentially get to Clowney's, single-season sack record, and we'll certainly see if he decides to play in that or not. But very well-deserved, and obviously came in here, as a guy that had been around college football for a while, had done some things at Georgia Tech, but nobody expect him to blow up the way that he did, and very well-deserved honor winning the Bronco Nagurski Award, and certainly can't wait to see what he does at the next level, and where he ends up getting drafted here coming up in a couple of months. It's Halftime Show. Tyler Head and Terry Ford, along with you on Tuesday. Continue on here on The Game.
Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We are hanging out till 3 here on the game. Thank you, Tyler, for getting through that first segment. Appreciate it very much. It's been like a month since you've been here, so I figure,
I really thought about it. I said, I think it's been since Thursday. No.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. No. It was last Tuesday. Believe
Been
it
a
or
week.
not. Been a week.
Look at that.
Man,
It's that time of year. Here we go.
glad I remembered where everything was.
Kind of.
Sort of.
All right. You were talking about, and look, congrats to Kyle Kennard. I mean, what a story, what a year. I mean, you lead the SEC in sacks and tackles for loss. You were, especially early in the year, on pace to maybe pass Clowney's single-season sack record.
Technically could still.
Still,
If he plays one more game.
yeah,
I don't know if he will.
We'll see.
But
I think he's one of those on-the-fence guys that Shane was talking about, which, by the way, I totally understand.
oh, sure. No,
I totally understand.
I don't think anybody's going to be mad at him if he decides to sit out the Citrus Bowl. This is a dude that has worked his way into, those upper rounds of the NFL draft that I don't think he was on anybody's top 10 edge board going into the season.
No, I mean, if the board works itself out for him and he could land in the second round of the draft. I mean, I don't think he's a first rounder, but I think he'll land in the second round of the draft. Definitely the third round of the draft. So I guess it comes down, Kyle Kennard, I guess this is what your thought process would be probably. A, do you want to play in the bowl game? B, is it more important to go get ready for the NFL draft than play in the bowl game? C, gauging the injury situation. Do I want to risk being Jalen Smith? That's C.
Which
D.
Kennard's gotten nicked up a little bit this year.
D is this. Can I improve my draft stock with a big bowl game? Are you to a point, do you have enough information on the down low? Because, guys get information on the down low. To say you kind of are where you are. And now it's time to go get ready for the Underwear Olympics and see if you can improve your draft stock there.
Yeah, it's like, his best performance in a single game was obviously that, 4-sack performance against Wake Forest when he was at Georgia Tech. So let's say he went out there and replicated that in the Citrus Bowl against Illinois. Is that suddenly going to rocket him up another
I don't know.
10 to 20 spots?
Personally,
I don't know.
I think second, third round is where he's going to land. I don't know if he can do a whole lot to make it. He's probably going to play in an all-star game too. And do you just go get ready for all that? And if you do, good for you. There's just all these guys are. Every decision's fluid and individual because
Sure.
everybody's got their own specific circumstances. And if he decides not to play, I totally get it, totally understand. Same thing, if a Nick Amenwari said, you know what, I'm a second-round pick, maybe bottom of the first round if I go and tear it up at the Underwear Olympics in Indianapolis, I think I'm going to go get ready for the draft. And I don't want to put myself out there to get hurt. I get all that stuff, man.
Sure.
I do. I always, for the people who criticize, I almost say, well, would you really, what would you do if you're in that situation?
Yeah.
What would you do?
Because, again, the risk here is millions of dollars and your future career at the next level for a lot of these guys to do. And, yeah, sure, there are guys that are, not even projected to be drafted that opt out. And it's like you probably could benefit by playing in the extra game. Who knows what happens? Maybe you jump up a few spots or a round or something along those lines. But when you have these guys that are projected into those first 1 to 2, sometimes even third round, sitting out, it's like, okay, I get it. And again, if you're projected to go that high, you've probably had a pretty good season already to where, I get it. And I don't think you should be upset with those people for that.
No, not at all. Because again, you've got to balance risk reward. It's not a college football playoff game. That's a whole different animal now. We're talking about something totally different. But if you're sitting there and it's Citrus Bowl, Gator Bowl, RealiQuest Bowl, Music City, Vegas, whatever, and you say, you know what? I'm going to jump out of here. I don't want to get hurt. I got draft stock to protect. I want to go prepare for the draft. I want to get with my speed coach, my strength and fitness coach, my vertical leap coach, all these other coaches, and I want to start focusing on the silly season, which is the All-Star games, the combine, all the interviews, all the other ridiculousness that happens. I can't fault you for that.
Right.
Because, again, let's circle back to Jalen Smith. You don't want that to happen to you. And you can say this, well, just get an insurance policy. There have been stories from ex-players about trying to chase that money. You know what insurance companies don't like to do, Tyler?
Pay you for the things that they insure you for. Mm-hmm. You have to fight tooth and nail sometimes to get things that are probably very rightfully yours out of them. So if they can go over it with a fine-tooth comb and say, well, maybe you shouldn't have played in this game and you wouldn't have gotten hurt, then that's a very real possibility. So, yes, falling back on insurance is not always a guarantee.
Do me a favor, while we're talking about this, grab cut to Fran Brown at Syracuse, who I really like. I think what Fran Brown has done at Syracuse is so good.
When he showers.
Which, anyway, everybody's got a superstition, Tyler.
No, I do wash myself.
You draw the line at hygiene?
I don't. And my superstitions do not allow me to neglect my body in any way.
Okay. Fran Brown talks about opting out for bowl games.
Kyle McCord.
Yep. Your quarterback.
I think he's playing. What you think?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I think he's playing.
Do you know if he's playing?
He loves football. Do you love football?
I love watching it.
Are you asking me questions?
I'm trying.
Do you like asking questions?
I don't mind.
So I don't mind answering them. I think Kyle's playing, though. Kyle's playing football. If we're going to have a football game, Kyle McCord will play in the football game. Until the NCAA says Kyle can't play football anymore, then he'll stop playing college football and he'll go play on the next level. But whenever there's a football game, he'll be at it. If we called the game in 2 hours and we said we was about to have a game, Kyle will probably be the first one there to play football.
Has anybody opted out at this point?
Man, we don't opt out around here, man. We play football. We like the game. Like, we get to play football. The more football you play, the more the NFL watches.
Okay. So there's so much there. First of all, the subliminal messaging in the entire riff is interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Basically, he's cornering Kyle McCord into playing in a bowl game.
Pretty much.
He's saying if there's a football game, Kyle McCord would show up. So if Kyle McCord decided that he wasn't going to play, how's Kyle McCord look right now?
Not good.
So that was pretty. That was something right there by Fran Brown. That was pretty manipulative right there, right?
Well, we say this all the time. The press conferences, the coaches aren't talking to us.
No,
talking to their team.
He's talking directly to Kyle McCord right there. And then he throws out the other one. We don't opt out. We play football. So because we love football. So if you opt out, what's he saying? You don't love
football. Put him in an interesting spot.
Yeah, he's really in a very manipulative way. He has put his entire roster on blast.
Don't let him opt out of the DirecTV Holiday Bowl.
Because you know what? You love football. You play in the DirecTV Holiday Bowl.
That's right.
Because, it doesn't matter if it's a bowl game. It could be like Mark Wahlberg in the Vince Papale movie. Just go play in somewhere on a field covered in grass and nails because you love to play. Forget again, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If you love football, you're going to play. Because I'm sure if Fran Brown was a projected first-round pick in the NFL draft, he would play because he loves football.
That's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying. And if you don't play, you don't love football. If you're Kyle McCord and you decided, and look, Kyle McCord's not going to be a high draft pick in the NFL draft, but let's say Kyle McCord would have been, and you do that, and then you put Kyle McCord in the spot. But I think Fran Brown also knows that Kyle McCord is going to play.
Yeah.
Or you don't do that, right?
Right.
Let me say, I wouldn't think he would do that. But here's the thing. He doesn't know who wants to opt out and who doesn't, and he said that.
But he's putting it out there that if you do,
you don't love football.
It's chestnut checkers, man.
I know. I mean, so I think he knows that Kyle McCord's playing in the bowl game. I don't think you would go that far into pinpoint one guy like that if you didn't know he's going to play. Because, again, Kyle McCord's not protecting his draft status. He's not.
No. He's somebody that could probably benefit. Look, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC this year, maybe behind Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. But if goes out there and has a great bowl game, then who knows? That could help him out.
Right, because Kyle McCord is not looked at as a first-round pick in the NFL draft or a second-round pick, for that matter, in the NFL draft. And look, Kyle McCord did. I mean, he had, besides the fact every now and then he liked to throw the ball to the other team, Kyle McCord had a really good year.
4 in that one game.
Yeah, I think he led the conference in interceptions, but he also led in a lot of other good categories too. Put it this way, the most ultimate thing, and probably made Kyle McCord, maybe could have been one of the happiest days of his life, is when not only did Kyle McCord go out there and tear up Miami to knock Miami out of the college football playoff, what happened on that same day? Ohio State got beat by Michigan.
That's right.
And if you don't know, Kyle McCord basically was kicked to the curb by Ohio State. All right, coming up here on the halftime show, Terry Ford and Tyler Head, a Gamecock has just gone into the portal. We'll get into that next, right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, and 100.5 The Game in Florence. Oh, what we're talking about is the transfer portal. It has opened up again in South Carolina. And with the breaking news, we go to our South Carolina man on the beat, on the scene at the Spurrier Complex, Tyler Head.
Yeah, so this is being reported by Pete Nakos of On3 that Robbie Ashford has re-entered the transfer portal, this being the third time, I guess, because he was at Oregon, went to Auburn, now at South Carolina, and now opting to go somewhere else. I would say this is a surprise. Again, he came in with the opportunity to compete for the starting job. As Beamer said, all offseason, hey, we weren't going to promise anything to anybody. You're going to have to come in here and fight with Lenore Sellers to win this job. Obviously, Sellers won the job. And, Robbie Ashford, when called upon, did what he needed to do. He played the second half of the LSU game, played the entire Akron game. When Sellers was getting banged up seemingly in every game the first half of the season, guess who came in? Robbie Ashford. Led the team down the field on certain drives, came in for certain packages. I think for the role that he was asked to do, he served it well, had a good attitude about it. A lot of guys would come in here and have to sit behind a redshirt freshman and, be sour about it, but he seemed to have a good attitude and, best of luck wherever you end up.
Yeah, look, he got a chance to have the game of his life against Akron.
Yep.
He got a chance to go out there, throw it, run it. Robbie Ashford, that's the game when you're Robbie Ashford and you might be the game you look back when you're 35 years old. Maybe you got the video somewhere in your laptop or whatever. By then, you could probably just beam it on a wall somewhere. But this year, he played the role of backup quarterback as well as you can play it. When called upon to play, like you said, he went out and, he performed probably above the level of a typical backup quarterback when he was asked. Again, the LSU game, we all say this. No offense to Robbie Ashford, but if Lenore Sellers stays healthy, the way that offense was cooking before Sellers went out at halftime, you think you win the LSU game. Ashford went out and played the Akron game. It was phenomenal. He had to come in, remember, during moments of the Kentucky game.
Mm-hmm.
He played a little bit against Ole Miss, had the fumble, unfortunately.
Yep.
But Robbie Ashford, and I think the thing about Robbie Ashford that I'll take away from the year is two things. A, the Akron game where he got his chance to shine. And B, it seems like every time a big play was made, the first guy on the field to congratulate somebody was Robbie Ashford. To your point, if you get beat out by the redshirt freshman quarterback and you're all butthurt and you're sitting on the bench pouting, that's not cool. Ashford accepted his role. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to sit there and go, yeah, he should be the starter over me. You can, in your heart, believe you're better. You should, matter of fact. That's what competitors do.
Of course.
But you have a role to play. You're an upperclassman. You're a veteran. You got to be a leader. You got to leave all that stuff in the car when you come to the facility, and you got to play a role. And I thought Robbie Ashford played his role as backup quarterback, upperclassman, leader, and mentor to Lenore Sellers. I thought Robbie Ashford did his job. Now, if he wants to go off somewhere, see if he can get a starting quarterback role, good for him. And honestly, watching him the little bit we got to see him this year, he could go to a group of 5 school and go be a starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And he could have some nice moments.
This is, his third Power 4 gig. And again, he had his opportunity at Auburn, didn't do a whole lot with it, got replaced by Peyton Thorne. So I think the Power 4 thing may have, set sail. So, yeah, G5, MAC school, Sunbelt school. I'm sure there are many of them that are already blowing up his phone right now in the 10 minutes that he's been in the portal. Want him to come.
Tulane's going to lose their quarterback.
Yep.
Maybe you go to a place like Tulane. Maybe you go to a place like Nevada who might lose their quarterback. There are schools that are losing their quarterbacks and are going to need QBs. And in the right level of school, the right level of league, in the right offense, Robbie Ashford can do stuff for you. Now, if you're going to ask Robbie Ashford to throw the ball 40 times a game, that's a mistake.
No.
But if you're going to say be a dual threat quarterback, affect games with your legs, we know you're a streaky passer, but your athleticism and your abilities, we think, can fit in our offense and be a plus. That would be good for Robbie Ashford, and I hope he gets it. I really do. I think he did a nice job in his role this year for South Carolina. He absolutely did.
Again, nobody's upset with him going to the portal. Again, we have with Lenore Sellers, and I think a lot of us kind of probably viewed this as a likely thing to happen once Sellers had won the job, which, again, we all assumed was going to happen. Like, all right, Ashford stays. If you need him, he's there. If not, probably ends up going somewhere else after the season. That ends up being the case.
Yeah, and look, Shane said it without saying it when they were looking for a portal quarterback. We're not going to guarantee you a starting gig, and the reason is we got a guy we really like, and we think this is the guy. They'll give you a chance to come in here and compete, but we also need you to understand that if you don't win the job, we need a leader. We need a man. We don't need some pouty little diva. We need a man. Robbie Ashford was a man. Give him his props.
Yep.
They talked to guys like Malik Murphy, who, by the way, is back in the transfer portal. That's a weird one. A lot of people didn't see that coming because Murphy played so well at Duke. Either Murphy is getting some bad advice from people who say, bro, look what you did at Duke this year. Think what you can do at a Blue Blood or another level Power 4 school. Dude, did you see you? I feel like that's almost it because there was no talk of fallout with the coaching staff at Duke. Matter of fact, everybody talked about how everything worked really well for Murphy and that coaching staff at Duke.
Sure.
I feel like he's saying, is the grass greener somewhere else at a school that can give me even higher profile than a Duke? I mean, Duke football is whatever, right?
Yeah.
Not to be mean. Is he looking for a higher level school where he'll get more, like, national exposure, so to speak?
Yeah, look, everybody's objective is obviously to go to the NFL. Does he feel like going somewhere else gives him a better opportunity for that? And this just popped in my head. I wonder the ratio to draft, correlation. Like, obviously we have plenty of guys that have transferred one time and gone pro, but I am struggling to think of any guys, at least high-level guys, that have transferred multiple times and still made it, outside of a practice squad or, in training camp with somebody.
You know why? Because they start moving around. It becomes a them problem.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're not winning the job, right?
Right.
Now, of course, they're team hopping to get a job because I'm not going to stereotype them all or lump them all together, but some of them are going, well, it's their problem. It's the program's problem, the school's problem. It's the offense's problem. It's the coordinator's problem. It's the head coach's problem. It's the my supporting cast problem. It's his problem. At some point, it's your problem.
Yeah, at some point, it's you.
It's you. And, I think it's going to be very interesting what happens to Malachi Nelson at Boise State.
Yeah, well, he thought he was going to waltz in there and win that job.
Yeah, and he got beat out. Look, no offense, the dude that beat out Malachi Nelson, if you watch him play, he's an okay college quarterback. He made a couple throws in the first half against UNLV that were like wow throws. Then he spent the second half making throws.
So their offense is built on a fantastic running game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of people think what will stop Boise State in the college football playoff will be the lack of big playability by their quarterback. Malachi Nelson couldn't beat the guy out.
Yeah.
A 5-star kid left Southern Cal. He'd waltz onto the blue. And after they bow to him, we're not worthy, like Wayne's World, they'd hand him the starting quarterback keys. And guess what? He got beat out.
He went there thinking he was going to be the one that brought him to the college football playoff.
And he did, holding the clipboard.
Yeah.
So is he going to leave Boise State? I think the kid Maddox Madsen,
Yeah.
I think he's got a couple years of eligibility left.
I believe so.
So if you're Malachi Nelson, are you going to globetrot to your next program? Because it's becoming a Malachi Nelson problem.
It is, and I imagine, especially considering the fact that Boise's, in the process of preparing for the playoffs, he'll probably be within the next couple of days if that does end up happening.
Well, think about this. Lincoln Riley did not choose him.
No.
He chose Miller Moss, who now is in the transfer portal, by the way.
I would say Miller Moss had the great bowl game and that kind of reset of, what the conversation was going in the offseason. Then Miller Moss fell off as the season went along, and forget the kid's name. They ended up starting Maeva, from UNLV. So, again, it's just all these moving parts.
Oh, I know. Well, so Malachi Nelson, his conversation with Lincoln Riley, we don't know. Maybe Lincoln Riley wasn't sold on Malachi Nelson. Maybe Malachi Nelson said, wait a minute. You know who I am, right?
Yeah. Well,
you know who I am.
I imagine there was also probably a decent amount of NIL coming his way. And it was like, hey, you're not going to start this year. We're going to
That could be the
dial
case
that back
too.
here.
So there's something in there that made Malachi Nelson not wait at Southern Cal. Maybe there's enough. Maybe the NIL offer at Boise State also could have been. Look, I've talked to people out there. It's not like they're flooded with NIL money, but maybe they thought to roll the dice on a 5-star
Listen,
recruit.
they got potato money, man.
Maybe they paid him in potatoes.
It's valuable.
Potatoes are.
I take potato NIL.
Let me tell you something. Potatoes are very underrated.
Most versatile food on the
Love
planet.
a potato. I'm trying to think of a way I don't like a potato.
Impossible.
Yeah, exactly. It's a potato. Halftime show. Firehouse Sub Text the hour 803-404-6100 is next. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We're rolling up until 3 here on the game. Time for us to knock off our Firehouse sub text to the hour at 803-404-6100. We got, man.
Nameless texter weighs in reference to the news, of course, that Robbie Ashford just entered the transfer portal. Says, think he follows Logan to App State. Very possible.
That's a good one, texter.
App State needs a lot of help in a lot of areas, which is why they're hiring a new head coach.
They've been, again, there was underachieving 2 out of 3 years. That gets you fired at App State.
It does, and, that's a program that has and Dow Loggins mentioned this yesterday, rich winning history going back to all those FCS national championships, and even coming in to, FBS about a decade ago. They were routinely in bowl games and winning a fair amount of games, and, I've slipped these past couple of years, but, God, this year was just atrociously bad. Remember when, Clemson beat them in week 2 after losing to Georgia in week 1? He said, wow, hey, beating App State that bad. I know it's a G5 team, but that's something. Then we just learned, App's just really kind of sucks this year.
Yeah, they were bad. I'll look at their quarterback situation. Joey Aguilar.
Yeah, he's a senior. I don't know if he has any more eligibility left.
Who knows?
His numbers regressed this year.
Yeah, 56% completion percentage, 23 TDs, 14 picks. Yeah, you're hitting 56% of your passes. That's not very good in today's football. And offensively, as a whole, it's not one guy, obviously. Offensively, App State, I'm looking at it now. Let's see. They did what you call crush it consistently on the offensive side of the ball all year. And their defense was not very good. Besides that, everything went well in Boone.
I was going to say, you don't often fire your head coach when things are going swimmingly on, one side of the ball.
So there might be, I think it's a great text. It could be Ashford, because Ashford worked with Dow all year.
Yeah.
And maybe Robbie Ashford has a spot there to maybe go to Appalachian State and be a starter. We talked about a G5 landing spot. That might be it.
That is, and I don't know if he referenced this or not. I'm assuming he's going to call his own plays.
Loggins?
Yeah.
I'm guessing, yeah. That's my thought.
That's one less to-do list thing is, okay, find a quarterback, get acquainted with him and figure out what we're going to do. Well, hey, I just worked with this guy for an entire year. Let me just bring him in.
Yeah, and again, I think on that level, Robbie Ashford's abilities play better.
Sure.
The windows are a little bigger, and
that athleticism alone will separate himself.
Well, we watched him in the Akron game. We watched him in the LSU game, even though he struggled throwing the ball at times. His athleticism and the plays he can make with his legs. Ashford on the G5 level, I think, could be a nice productive quarterback for someone. Again, there's going to be times he throws it and nobody knows where it's going. But I think his abilities and the bigger windows, you don't have to be as accurate. You can get away with some stuff you can't get away with on the Power 4 level. I think Ashford can go to the group of 5 and have a nice year as a starting quarterback.
I think so, too.
And he can take off and run like nobody's business. That's a funny thing. Like when you watch Lennar Sellers, and then you watch Robbie Ashford isn't Lennar Sellers, but if you push Lennar Sellers out of the way for a minute and just watch Robbie Ashford run around, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's just, Lennar Sellers, it's different. That's all. But Robbie Ashford, he brings a lot of athleticism to the table, and I think at a group of 5 level, he'll go out there and be a nice quarterback for somebody. And it might be Dow Loggins at App State. Really nice text.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea for sure, and we'll certainly see. And again, that would be pretty seamless process for both guys, I feel like.
All right. Also, Gamecock Central with their transfer portal headquarters at Gamecock Central. They bring up a very interesting player, linebacker out of Grambling, Andrew Jones. Believe there's mutual interest. Now, again, Jones played at Grambling, but he was SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. 122 tackles, 20 and a half tackles for loss, 3 sacks, forced fumble, fumble recovery, defensive touchdown, his year of eligibility left. I just want to find out how athletic is he. That's what I care about. Yes, I know there's more to everything than just being a freak athlete, but we saw this year the difference in your linebacker position when you've got speed on the second level. When you saw that group of athletic linebackers running around this year for South Carolina, which I don't think we give enough credit to how they also helped transform the defense. How many times this year do you see a running back or a quarterback break from the first level and you went, uh-oh, and guess what? He went nowhere.
Yep.
I'll never forget the Jalen Milroe play. Milroe breaks contain, and he's getting around the left end, and I'm like, oh, geez. and out of nowhere, like he was shot out of a cannon, Demetrius Knight takes him out for a yard loss or whatever. I mean, you saw Bam Martin Scott, and obviously Debo Williams is athletic. You saw those three guys flying all over the place, making plays on that second level that were, for lack of a better term, they were stick changers.
Yeah.
Instead of 2nd and 3, it was 2nd and 8 because those guys came and made plays.
I'm looking at his highlight tape now on YouTube, and he seems, for the highlights I'm seeing, very much downhill. A couple times in pursuit of like quarterbacks going out of the edge. Again, this is against SWAC competition, MEAC competition, that kind of stuff. But, he is a guy that does seem to be moving around the field a lot. So we'll see.
I think one thing South Carolina, you know it to a level, but when you really see it, speed and athleticism at that linebacker position, you saw the difference it made this past year for the Gamecocks.
For sure.
So, find guys who can make plays, but find fast, speedy, athletic guys who can make plays, game-changing kind of plays. All right, halftime show, football, more football coming up. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. Football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Not going to get into this topic, Tyler, because if we don't go down this road. Just give you a little idea of the guy that did that United Healthcare CEO shooting.
Yeah.
You know where he's from, right?
I do not.
Baltimore.
Is he really?
Yes, he is, sir.
Next door neighbor?
Went to Paperboy.
Yeah, there's always something funny about that kid.
Paperboy. Yeah. His eyes were always funny when he came to get the money. He went to a very prestigious private school in Baltimore.
Yeah, I was like an Ivy League kid, and like the trail up to this point doesn't add up.
Baltimore. It's what we do in Baltimore.
You can take the kid out of Baltimore. You can't take the Baltimore out of the kid.
You can take the shooter out of Baltimore. You can't take the shooter. You can't take Baltimore out of the shooter.
I said this the other day talking to Elijah. This is before they found the guy or whatever. He's gonna make one heck of a documentary on Netflix in a year or so. Oh,
kid was valedictorian in his senior class from a very prestigious private school in Baltimore. But like I say, it's what we do in Baltimore. It's who we are. When I found that out, I just went, really? Really? Girlfriend told me today, and I'm like, seriously? Just start giving me the backstory.
Just once. I don't want it to be us, right?
Why does it always have to be us? By the way, it's about the school's about 10 or 15 minutes from my house.
Oh, nice.
In Baltimore.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was just like, wow, really? My kid's been to summer camps at that place. That place is like a college.
Yeah.
It's called the Gilman School of Baltimore. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous facility. Anyway. I just want to get that.
That's an awkward day on campus today.
Oh, you probably have grief counselors and all sorts of stuff in there to talk. How do you feel right now? Huh? About what?
I saw one of the news stations out there was doing a live shot in front of the high school. I'm like, I'm not sure that has relevance to this story because it's been like, 10 years since he's been there?
Exactly. He's 26 years old. Nobody there even. Right.
What's the point of being outside the high school?
Right. Exactly.
Why not go to the Walmart that he shopped at?
Yeah. Well, because that school's pretty.
I guess.
Pretty school.
Yes.
Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that at you.
Good for you.
My peeps are in the news again. We just can't stop.
First, it was the kid in the Lamar jersey that decked those two Commander fans.
I tell stories about where I grew up, and people are like, oh, that's so funny. You made that up, right? No.
Yeah, you're in one of those neighborhoods where you lock your doors when you turn in, right?
Hey, you locked everything. I do it now. I mean, because it's a habit for me. I lock everything.
Sure.
I trust no one. I lock everything. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm getting out of my car, running up to like a door to get something and running back to my car, I lock my car. I don't screw around. Again, where I'm from, you got out of the car, you ran to the porch, you turned around, your car was gone.
Yeah, there's no car.
There's no car. There's a thank you note that was spelled wrong. It's Baltimore.
Or it's on cinder blocks.
Exactly. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you real quick. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Let's go back real quick, Tyler. Let's give love where love is deserved to Kyle Kennard. Here is the announcement, cut 9 of Kyle Kennard winning the Nagurski Award.
All right. We all want to know who the winner is, right? So without further ado, the winner of the 2024 Bronco Nagurski Trophy is Kyle Kennard of South Carolina.
He's had a great year. I mean, when you think about it, you take a step back and go, Kyle Kennard led the best conference in college football in sacks and tackles for loss. And up until the last couple of weeks, where it seemed like he kind of ran out of steam a little bit, Kennard was on pace to break some records. And there were games that he just wrecked offenses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what Kennard and Dylan Stewart were doing off the edge, and it started right away against the first play against Old Dominion, who got the sack? Remember, sack, fumble,
Kennard.
Touchdown for South Carolina.
Yep.
It started right from the first game, and Kyle Kennard had a phenomenal season. And Kennard and Dylan Stewart obviously helped each other out because, if you want to double one side, guess what you got from the other side?
Yep.
A lot of pain and suffering. So Kyle Kennard, a phenomenal season. You guys were talking about earlier. Well, when Kyle Kennard came in, I remember we were sitting there going, wow, okay, great guy, 8 sacks on the year. I get 4 was in one game, but still a guy that put consistent heat on quarterbacks. You looked at his grades. He also played the run solid. this is a good get. I think you predicted 11.5 sacks, didn't you?
Oh, totally. No, I definitely said he's going to be rivaling Jadeveon Clowney as maybe one of the best, exterior defensive linemen that this program's ever seen.
I think you said 11.5 sacks, and I said Nagurski Award, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
No, we just thought, okay, you added a productive edge pass rusher with experience. I mean, you knew he was going to make you better.
He was.
When it come to getting after quarterbacks, but no one saw this coming.
And I wonder, and look, Dylan Stewart, from a natural talent standpoint, is great. But I wonder if he didn't have Kennard on the other side, what does his freshman year look like? I'm sure he would have still had plenty of moments, but I don't know if he would have been consistent. And again, it's not just about the sacks and the tackles and all that kind of stuff. Think about the the pressures that he put on. What was it, the Missouri game with the late interception, where he forced the pressure.
Yep, that was Missouri. No, the Clemson game.
That's right, because he's the one that put the pressure on Klubnik that forced the bad throw behind Maffa that D Knight picked off. So it's those kind of things that have their effect on the games. And I'm sure Stewart still would have had a solid freshman year. I don't know if it's as good without Kennard on the other side.
No, it wouldn't be, because once Stewart popped early, then you're going to start doubling him, constantly chipping him. There's he was going to see a lot of traffic in front of him. And there were times you still saw him get doubled. Yep. I remember that was the Alabama game. Was it when Kennard forced the safety in the end zone on Milroe?
It was like a
Milroe
linebacker,
couldn't move.
A tight end and a running back.
Yeah, I mean, it was like you got a tight end and a running back on Kennard, but that's because you had doubled Stewart on the other side. And by the way, Stewart beat the double team.
Yep.
And when Milroe went to escape, he looked over and there was Stewart. And so Milroe was screwed, and Kennard finished the deal. So they helped each other a ton. And it's going to be very interesting next year what South Carolina can put out on the edge opposite of Stewart. Because, again, opposing offensive coordinators are going to really target holding Stewart down next year. Now, who can you put opposite of Stewart who can take advantage of it? Or someone, if you're really lucky, can get someone who is not maybe Kyle Kennard, but not far off. And all of a sudden, not only are you helping the other guy, but the other guy's making them pay for it.
I think about how attractive that is. If you're a guy in the portal, hey, I want to go be Kyle Kennard.
Yes.
Because, again, you know that attention is going to be on one side of the line. You go line up on the other side of the line, then you're going to be able to get yours too. So
yeah, that's a great point. If I'm in the portal, I want to come play at South Carolina on the edge.
And look, is edge the top priority in the portal? No, not necessarily. But if you get enough interest to be like, hey, I want to come play in this. I want to come play next to on the opposite side of Dylan Stewart. You're going to take guys you can get.
And if you're South Carolina, you see the light. If dopes like us can see it, Clayton White and Shane Beamer say, man, if we got heat coming off of both edges.
Yeah, and now that you can officially say, yes, Dylan Stewart is coming back. He signed a new deal with the Garnet Trust. You are going to come play with him. Even better.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that was a big thing, because if you're a Gamecock fan, and we've heard it, Tyler, can they keep this guy? Can they keep that guy? I mean, we heard it during the years. Dylan Stewart going to be gone. What about Lenore Sellers? Blah, blah, blah.
We talked about it after, 3 games? We're like, all right, this dude is a dude. He is producing like you hoped he would. What are you going to do to keep him? Because I imagine his phone was already ringing. Hey, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, whatever, maybe plenty of offers, I'm sure, rolled in. How are you going to compete with that?
There is no team in the country that would turn down having Dylan Stewart.
No, they could have 20 guys in their edge room, and if Dylan Stewart says, I want to come play for you, they will kick one of them out happily to make room for him. So you were fighting a tough fight for sure. But again, credit to Garnet Trust and everybody over there and getting it done. Where and look, Stewart likes Columbia, wants to be here. Obviously likes Coach Beamer, Coach Sterling Lucas, and wants to be part of this. But again, if you have nothing to offer him, and other schools are throwing $3 million at him or whatever, well, that's going to end up winning out at the end of the day more often than not. So they gave him, and again, the numbers get reported out there. It's in the 7 figures. It seems.
It's a 7-figure deal.
It's a 7-figure deal. Seems to be worth his while, and he's good with it.
Well, it had to be a 7-figure deal. You remember we were speculating on that, during the years. Like you gotta scratch out. Put it this way: does Venmo take 7 figures when you hit send?
As far as I know, I've never.
I was gonna say you've been sending a lot of 7-figure.
I haven't sent a 7-figure amount in a little while, but I think it does.
I don't even think I count 7 figures I've ever sent with the decimal points in Venmo.
You ever wonder if, like, take all the money you've made in your entire life, if it adds up to, like, one of these NIL contracts that these guys have?
I know. I don't want to do that, because if it doesn't, I'm gonna need some time alone with the door shut just to reevaluate what the hell I've done with myself in my life.
You should have been 6'5" and completely ripped and played football better.
See,
and you could have gotten it.
If I could have been about 3.5 inches taller, 40 pounds of muscle more, or have any muscle, I'd been all right. But yeah, look, this is the world we live in. And I know there are fans who get upset about this. Every time they hear it, it drives them insane. I get it. You know what the world was before this? Illegal.
Yeah, it was all done under the table. I will say it is still odd to hear the phrase "agreed to a new deal," signed a new deal when we're talking about college, but that's the nature of the game.
You got to get used to it.
It's what it is. These guys are operating under contracts with these collectives saying, I'm playing for this school. You're going to pay me X amount of dollars over the course of this 12-month period or whatever it may be, and we shake hands on it, and that's what we're going to do. And, again, that's going to change to a degree with the new revenue sharing and all that kind of stuff, but for now, and with the new revenue sharing, he's still getting that 7 figures in addition to whatever the flat fee is for all college football players.
Right. But, let's say this. This is the way of the world, except, at Syracuse, because they just love to play football because they love football.
They do.
They love football.
They love football.
And they play because they love football.
Do you love football?
Then you're going to play, right?
You're going to play.
We don't opt out here. We play football because we love football.
Why did Kyle McCord opt out of the bowl game? He didn't love football.
He just didn't love football?
Didn't value playing the DirecTV Holiday Bowl, apparently.
And if you walk away from DirecTV Holiday Bowl, if I'm an NFL scout or a front office type in the NFL, I'm probably not going to draft you because you don't love football.
You don't? That was actually the game that Miller Moss went off last year and earned himself the starting job, essentially.
See what you can do if you play in the Holiday Bowl and you get free DirecTV for life, right?
Do you know the name of that stadium now?
What is it now?
Snapdragon.
Are you serious?
I don't know what that is.
What the hell's a Snapdragon?
It was Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Then it was just San Diego Stadium, I think. Now it's Snapdragon.
I remember for years it was Qualcomm. Didn't Qualcomm go out of business?
Probably. It's communications, right?
Communications.
Yeah, so probably.
Now it's Snapdragon.
Does
now
SDS,
you know what you're doing to me, right?
Does SDO Stu still play there?
Yes.
I guess that's the only thing going for it now.
Okay. Snapdragon. I don't know what it is. First thing that came up was Snapdragons, the plant. Snapdragon apples, Snapdragon seeds, Snapdragon Stadium. What does that mean? I don't know. No clue. Man, this is good radio, too.
Let's see.
I've gone down the I got to stop now. I'll do it during the break. I'm going down the rabbit hole. I got to stop. Got to stop. Hand off the phone.
The logo's cool.
Yeah.
But.
Got to stop now. Got to stop. But that's what we all do in real life. We all okay, I got to look this up. Just can't do it on the air. It's not the best listen. All right, it's football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll come back. Dow Loggins, what was the hardest thing he had to do in leaving South Carolina and taking the App State gig? We'll hear Dow Loggins talk about that on the other side. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We're rolling until 3 here on the game. It's well, that's right. Men's Clinic of South Carolina is a place you need to go to if you're just not feeling like you. You have a lack of drive in life, and it could be, professional, sexual, personal, whatever. You just don't feel, you don't have that zing and zest you used to have. Maybe you don't sleep the way you used to. Maybe your workouts stink. Maybe your recovery from workouts stink more than your workouts. Maybe you can't remember anything anymore. Maybe you're like me. I got to my car today in the parking building and realized, you know what you need? You need keys, or you can't really drive it. It might just be low testosterone, because it's a thing, and it's a real thing, and it happens to guys as they get older. They lose testosterone. Call 803-875-MENS, the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Set up a free confidential consultation with the staff. Tell them your story. If they could be low T, they'll do some lab work. If it is, they'll put you on a program designed for you to get you to back being you again. Men's Clinic of South Carolina, 803-875-MENS. Football in the 1 o'clock hour is sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. Dow Loggins, the new head coach at Appalachian State. That one came out of nowhere. Happy for him. Congratulations. Look, we talk. We've had Dow on the air in the last couple of years multiple times. We've talked to him off the air. Guy tells great stories. Fun dude to talk to. Nice guy. Happy for him. But I lied to you. I did not see this one coming.
No.
We talked about it yesterday. It's like, wow.
It was Saturday, I guess it was, when all this came out. And look, whenever a head coaching position's open in college football, especially, you have your list of names, right? You know,
Right.
5-6 guys. Hey, kind of looking at this, whether it be connections to the program or what has been heard through the grapevine. And yeah, Loggins kind of came out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, it's his. I mean, obviously, best of luck to him, and certainly enjoyed his time here in Columbia. And I do wonder, given his NFL background, how much that's going to help you on the recruiting trail, when it comes to the group of five.
Wait a minute. Did Dow coach in the NFL?
Dow did coach in the NFL.
Never heard that.
Did that for a long time.
Never heard that.
And, we obviously poked fun at his ability to bring it up in press conferences here.
So
but,
good.
If you're a
recruit,
2-star kid from somewhere in the hills of North Carolina that's not getting looked at by Georgia or Tennessee or places like this, hey, come play for a guy that was a play caller in the NFL. It's probably pretty enticing.
And a developer of quarterbacks. I mean, but it always was funny how Dow would go, it's like in the NFL. It was always good. It was always, you knew you were going to get one of those in Dow's pressers.
The progression was really funny to me because it started off name dropping. It started off Adam Gase, Jay Cutler. Who else did he work with at quarterback?
There was a few. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
No, nobody great, to be honest with you. I think he was with Sam Darnold.
I was with Sam Darnold and Ryan Tannehill in Miami, I think.
Yeah, so it started off with a lot of name dropping. It just became very generic, and hey, when I was in Miami, when I was in Chicago, whatever. Then it just became very generic in NFL. When I was in the NFL, when I was in the NFL.
It was good.
So it kind of reeled it back a little bit.
Yeah, it was so good. It was funny. But, Dow's a good guy. We really enjoyed our times. We got to hang out with Dow and talk ball. And good for him. But I'll say this. First-time head coaching gig. Make no mistake, Appalachian State wants to win.
Yes.
I mean, that guy Satterfield, the head coach at Cincinnati, he was at App State. Annoying Eli, he was at App State. App State has been good. Remember, the big upset in college football we always talk about, 1AA and 1A. Who was that? App State over Michigan. Appalachian State has a long storied tradition of being a really good football program. And the reason they need a new head coach, 2 of the last 3 years, they've underachieved.
When you become the App State head coach, do you just immediately call Luke Combs and be like, hey, bud, could use some NIL help down here? Help us out?
Yes. You would, can you do a concert?
Yeah.
Can you help us out, please?
Something.
Help us out. All right, so here's Dow talking about the hardest thing in this whole process, what it was for him.
The interview process, the hardest thing that I was going to have to do when I left South Carolina was to call Lenore Sellers. We deeply value relationships, and when I got to South Carolina, it was 2 years ago in December, and we hadn't offered the kid a scholarship, and I go in and I watch the tape, and I walk back in our recruiting people, I say, hey, who is this guy? This guy's got an unbelievable character, and this is going to be an evaluation developmental program. And it's the things we learned in the NFL from Coach Bill Parcells in the evaluation process. But he was a winner, and he was a really good soccer player. He had great feet, which also correlates with playing quarterback. And so you go through this thing, you recruit him. You got 10 days. He's committed to Syracuse. And you're trying to flip him. You got 10 days, and he's never met you. He's never talked to you a day in his life. And you're telling him about your vision for the offense, and you're building a relationship. And then an incredible opportunity. There were very few places I would have left South Carolina and Lenore Sellers for. But this was one because of the tradition of winning and the vision that the Chancellor on the board and Doug have. So the phone conversation was really hard between us. Obviously, the success we had this year, and I'm so proud of that young man. He's going to be really good. And we'll continue to stay close and help him, and I'll watch him through his journey, and he knows that I'll always be in his corner.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it for a minute, by the way.
There it was.
Bill
Parcells. Well, now he's got a new audience. He has to do that too. And
sure.
Again, I think they might be a little more wowed by that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I get a kick out of it. It makes me, it highly entertains me.
Like if Bill Parcells showed up at an App State game, that's a big headline.
How cool would that be?
Yeah.
It is a look, and the one thing Dow talked about there, in all seriousness, we forget this, especially now because this game has become so nomadic and so transient, and it's just coaches, players, everybody now. There is relationships that get built. And if a guy stays in school for a few years and the player's staying for a few years, the relationship is a thing. And I know it's different now. Again, it's much more chaotic. But talk to Preston. And Preston will talk about Charlie Strong or his line coaches or this guy or that guy. And, to Preston, those guys are still coach. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's not like I'm a grown man in my 40s with kids and a life and a wife and all this. Preston's still a college football player when he talks to those guys.
Yes.
Those relationships really do matter. And here, Dow Loggins, he worked with Spencer Rattler a ton year before, but he was also mentoring the next guy up, who was Lenore Sellers. And he recruited Sellers. And I thought one thing he said that was interesting was about the soccer player angle. Because we bring this up on the show not enough. You play quarterback with your feet.
Yeah.
Footwork, everything starts with your footwork at quarterback. If your footwork sucks, guess what? You have no idea where the football's going. You watch a quarterback that's not accurate, most of the time you look at his feet are bad. He has bad footwork. I mean, we talk about this all the time with quarterbacks. Bad footwork ruins you. Anthony Richardson. You want to watch a dictionary definition of bad footwork? Watch Anthony Richardson play quarterback. Watch those feet. So to hear Dow Loggins bring up the soccer player angle and how good Lenore Sellers' feet are was very interesting because, again, take away all the other window dressing. That's coach watching and looking at something that us regular schmoes wouldn't pay attention to.
Yeah, something that would obviously translate. And again, Sellers has pretty good footwork, and I'm sure a lot of that comes from his multi-sport, background. And again, it's the thing I hate about all this. And again, best luck to Dow and everything is, going into year number 5 with Beamer again with no continuity between quarterback and offensive coordinator, which is unfortunate. But again, it's the nature of having success. Your coordinators get picked off.
And we'll see what happens here. Will Mike Shula will Mike Shula want to do it? We haven't even talked about that. Mike Shula's in his 50s. Does Mike Shula want to go Cruton? Is he ready to go Cruton again? Or does Mike Shula like being a senior analyst? Because, he's made some dough in his life. He's not suffering.
He's doing all right.
He can take the analyst money they give you.
Go grind tape.
Go out and work on the footwork because he can now coach on the field and say, you know what? I'm really not into the Cruton, guys. I'll be your senior analyst all day long.
Maybe so.
So we automatically think Mike Shula would want the gig. Well, no. Even if Shane wants to offer it to him, does Mike Shula want to be the offensive coordinator and then start on the trail? Some guys don't want to do that stuff. So we'll see. But continuity's sake, a Mike Shula to step in as the OC would be a nice thing if that's where Shane would want to go and if Mike Shula would even want to do it. We don't even know that.
Right.
We don't know. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Let's hear from a couple coaches in the college football playoff, Ken Dillingham and also Marcus Freeman. And I'm going to lay out an apology in the next segment as well. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, till 3 on the game. Oh, here we go. Yeah, just sitting here hanging out here, talking to my bestie Jeff about real important business things. So yeah, look, if they can't get Tyler's check done in payroll, Jeff, I understand. Sorry. Oh, we're on the air. My bad.
Say I handled that one myself.
All right, we're doing football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. All right, so obviously college football playoff. I'm going to apologize because look, I said this year a few things. I apologize to Texas. They were better than I thought they would be. Give them their props.
Yep.
I mean, they lost 2 games, both to Georgia, but Texas. And I go, look, their schedule was really friendly, but they played in their first year in the SEC better than I thought they would. And I'm going to give them their props. I was wrong. Billy Napier, you survived. Totally didn't see that coming. Good for you.
Listen, none of us did.
We'll see next year if you can build on the momentum of the end of this season. We'll see. Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. Again, he didn't beat anybody of any high level. Your strength of schedule is a joke. We could make an argument that you're lucky you're an independent playing that independent schedule this year, because some of the teams you played in the past on the schedule that were good weren't good this year. Yeah, you beat a ranked Army and a ranked Navy, but let's be honest. Not to be mean, you are better on paper than both of them.
Yes,
easily. Your big win in College Station over Texas A&M, okay, we'll give you something on that, but when we take a step back, maybe not as impressive as we thought it was in the beginning. But I apologize, Marcus Freeman, because you are in the college football playoff, sir. Your team lost 1 game. It was a terrible loss, by the way.
But it happened in September.
But it happened in the right time. That thing happens in November, we're having different conversations maybe.
That's right.
So Marcus Freeman, my man, I was wrong. You are a better head coach than I want to give you credit for. I thought you were just a recruiter who looked really good on the media guide. I thought you were the next level of Cliff Kingsbury.
See, that's your vendetta against him. He's like, he can't be good looking and have a good program too.
I guess I'm putting you in the bucket of Cliff Kingsbury.
Sure. Which Kingsbury somehow always went 6-6, even when you had Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Kingsbury's a mediocre head coach. He's above average offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a great offensive coordinator either.
He's a good offensive coordinator when he has an elite talent at quarterback.
But here's what happens. Almost every team that Kingsbury's an OC of, the second half of the year, they struggle.
Yeah.
It feels like teams get the tape, they make the adjustments, and Kingsbury's a one-trick pony. He can't make any adjustments. But none of that matters when he walks into the living room, into the office, into wherever, and he has his cool shades on, his cool designer clothes, and he takes his shades off, and he's all dreamy looking, and he mesmerizes everybody.
Of course.
He gets jobs on his dreaminess. Preston and I, we have our theory on Cliff Kingsbury.
He's never had to bring a resume to a job interview ever.
He just sits down and smiles, and his teeth do that thing, that sparkle.
Yeah.
And his eyes sparkle, and whoever he's talking to is mesmerized by his dreaminess and hires him.
I believe it.
I thought Marcus Freeman had the same thing going. But this past year, Marcus Freeman had a better season than Cliff Kingsbury would ever have in his life. So I will give Marcus Freeman his props. I was wrong.
And I would say they have a favorable draw in round number 1, taking on Indiana.
And the ironic part of this, who'd Marcus Freeman replace?
Brian Kelly.
Who's LSU playing in the college football playoff?
Oh, they're not.
Why did Brian Kelly leave Notre Dame?
Because he could only go so far at Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And LSU backed up the Brinks truck to him.
I hit a ceiling at Notre Dame. I'm going to go break that ceiling at LSU.
We thought you could this year.
Yeah, all I know is one team's in the college football playoff and one team hideously underachieved.
Yeah, pretty much.
Same. So nice job, Marcus Freeman. Here's Marcus Freeman talking about the significance of hosting the first ever college football playoff game in this expanded field at your home stadium.
Yeah, to be a part of the first home playoff game ever at Notre Dame is it's going to be something special. I know the fans will be crazy. I know the environment's going to be crazy, and I hope it's as cold as it can be, right? You got a little snow on the ground, and we're going to have to play our brand of football, man. Yeah, well, that's going to be even colder, you know.
Yeah.
So it's going to be special, Bobby. Something that this place has been talking to. I've been trying to keep my earmuffs on and not worry about it. It's here. It's here now, and I bet you it's going to be a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice draw for Notre Dame because that has to get fixed, obviously. This whole seeding and bye and all this other stuff has to get shaken out.
Which I don't think ESPN could have dreamed up a better set of host venues
I know.
for first round.
Ooh.
Notre Dame, Texas, Ohio State, and then Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, they're gonna pull good ratings anyway.
Oh yeah.
But those, which by the way, fun fact, this will be the first Notre Dame football game at their stadium not broadcast by NBC since 1990.
Wow.
Because the
Wow.
exclusive rights to their home games.
That's wild. Good fact by you.
Yep.
Did you dig it up yourself?
No, I did not. I came across it. But still.
Hey, next time I ask you, did you find it yourself? You're going to say, yes, Terry, I did
Yes,
a lot
I
of
did.
research.
Well,
Let's practice.
I did my research by scrolling Twitter.
Let's practice. Hey, Tyler, that's a great fact. Did you come up with that yourself?
I did.
Nice. See how easy that was?
Easy.
And they should beat Indiana.
They should.
And I mean, look, I've said this over and over again. I love the Indiana story. I love Coach Sig and what he's done. I love all of it. Is it personally for me as a fan, is it fun seeing Indiana in the college football playoff? Yes.
Sure.
But if we're going to be objective, the only thing that keeps them in the college football playoffs is they only lost one game all year.
Pretty much. Now,
if they would have lost two, there would have been more of a conversation about, because Indiana's resume, SMU's resume is better than Indiana's.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yes.
So South Carolina, so's Ole Miss, so's Alabama, even though I think Miami's resume is better. So the fact that Indiana only lost one game all year is what kept them out of the danger zone. But it's good for them to be in. I think Notre Dame ends their season in South Bend. Even though Indiana, I mean, you look at numbers and metrics and stats. I mean, it was a good defense against the run and the pass. Offensively, they could be explosive at times. I think Notre Dame's just going to wear them down and beat them at home.
Probably so. Yeah. I think it has the ability to be close. But yeah, I lean towards Notre Dame. 7.5 point favorite, I think.
And then you get if you do win, you get a Georgia team that might be running their backup quarterback out there.
Seems that way.
Yeah. So that's kind of where you're at. If if you're Georgia, and look, nobody's going to boo-hoo for Georgia, but you were on the cusp of maybe winning 3 in a row last year, and then you lost the SEC championship game and got kicked out of the college football playoff, even though, honestly, I think if you were in it, you would have won your third straight. But you got knocked out last year because of a 3-point loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. This year, you get back in the college football playoff. You beat Texas twice. And now you're in, you got a bye, and your starting quarterback might have to have his arm pulled off.
It's not always perfect.
Nope. All right, also, Ken Dillingham of Arizona State talking to the media real quick. And Dillingham talking about the transfer portal. Here's Dillingham.
For our guys that are going in the portal, we've met with most of our guys that are going in. Our guys have the opportunity to stay on our football team. Like, they're like, well, we'll go in at the end. I go, no, that's not fair to you to go in after our run is over. Now, day one, we'll help you find a spot and stay on our football team if you want to stay on our football team, and let's go on this ride together the rest of the way. But I didn't want those guys to feel like they had to wait to go in because they wanted an opportunity to have a bigger role for a program until after the CFP. I think that would have hurt their chances. So I made it very clear to the guys that you can stay on the team as long as you do what you're supposed to do, just like you're on the team. Go to meetings, show up, be 5 minutes early, check in, weigh in, go to workouts. Even if you go in the portal here, that doesn't affect me at all. That's just us being on the same page, trying to help you achieve what you want to achieve in your career. So we will have some people going in that choose to stay a part of this team, and it fires me up that we have the relationship between the kids on the team that they want that they want these guys to stay a part of it. And then we'll have some guys on the team that are like, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to take midweek visits and I got to be a little bit more aggressive finding a spot, and that's fine too. And either way, it's what's best for these guys.
There's a dude that gets the world today.
Yes, he does.
Right there. That's a guy that gets it. Now you know why he is being as successful as he's being right now.
He's growing on me.
That cat, right there.
He's going to have a lot of success in college football.
Firehouse Sub text the hour next on the halftime show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head on the Game. All right, time for our Firehouse subtext of the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got, man?
Bryce weighs in and says, can y'all imagine telling someone at the end of the 2023 season that Dow Loggins will be named the head coach of App State at the end of the following year?
It's a great text. No. I mean, a quick answer would be no. You would never. Look, I'm still sitting around a couple days after it happened thinking, wow.
Well, if you would have told somebody at the beginning of last week
I know
that he was going to be the head coach, be like, okay, I don't see the correlation there, and I didn't look at the name of candidates they had, but I don't think he was on it for most people. And apparently, Wynn stayed over there for a night last week and loved it, and done was done.
Well, the names I saw, Garrett Riley at Clemson, the OC at Clemson, and a couple other coordinators. Clayton White's name, ironically, was on it.
Yeah.
Here, I threw this out yesterday. Just my thought on it is, and this is a compliment. I think Dow, if you've talked to Dow Loggins, dude's a great storyteller, excellent conversationalist, good sense of humor, explains, like he would say, ball in a very interesting, entertaining way. I could see him being a great interview.
Oh, well, listen, we talked about this, when he got hired here, that, again, his NFL track record wasn't the greatest, and it was routinely on calling offenses that were towards the bottom of the league, but you get that dude in front of a whiteboard, and he's blowing your mind.
Mm-hmm. And I could see Dow with the experience, and again, using, like he does when he talks about football, and he's on the pressers, using the NFL stories, talking about working with this guy and that guy. Now he's got stories at Arkansas and South Carolina to weave in as well, working with Spencer Rattler, working with Lenore Sellers, working with Shane Beamer, working with, I can see him wowing you in an interview.
Sure.
Where you're ready to hire him. So I can see him going to Boone. Maybe his agent said, maybe you should talk to Dow. Would Dow be interested to talk to you? Would you be interested to talk to Dow? Whatever. Get him to Boone. He goes in, sits in front of the AD and the powers that be at App State and blows them away. I can see that as I'm standing right here talking to you.
Yep.
Now here's the hard part. Delivering.
Yes.
Dow's never been a head coach. College coordinator for 2 years at South Carolina. We've talked about his NFL track record to death. But now Dow gets to be in the big office in the big chair and take over at a place with expectations. This isn't taking over a group of 5 program that is, in the crapper or has never had any success. This is one that has been really good, and they want to be really good again, right away.
Yeah. No, the leash there, it's not going to be super short, but they're going to expect you to be, competing in the Sun Belt within the next handful of years.
I would say you get 3 years. You're going to get 3 years to show progress that you can be competitive in the Sun Belt to win championships.
Right.
And if you have not shown that, then they will move on to the next guy.
Pretty much.
But I hope it works out for Dow. I like him. I think he's a good guy. Look, it's the way it goes. I mean, there's times we've watched this offense in the last 2 years, and sometimes it was tough. Well, last year we didn't give him a grade, remember? It's like, how can you give anybody a grade when the offensive line's so bad? And we talked to him in the offseason when we asked him on the air about last season. And it was like, yeah, it was tough to run your offense when you were so limited because certain things you couldn't do because your offensive line had problems.
Yep.
This year, the offensive line did improve, and I think after the bye week, Tyler, it feels like they found the lane. Dow found his lane with the personnel. The personnel were put in the position to do the things they do best without maybe asking them to do things they weren't ready to do. Everything seemed to click, and offensively, they really got it going.
Yep.
And hey, good for you, Dow.
Yeah, best
I
of
hope
luck.
it works out, man. Really, I'd love to see it work out for Dow Loggins at Appalachian State.
I don't know if he's going to be able to call the bowl game. You get a lot put on your plate when you become the head coach of somewhere. I don't know if that'd be in the best interest of getting jump started on next year for him or not, but we'll see what they decide to do.
I'm trying to talk to you, and looking at that beard makes my face itch.
How do you think I feel?
You got to be miserable. How miserable are you? Because you're not a facial hair guy like this.
It's never gotten even anywhere close to this long before.
I think, they did the awards banquet the other day.
I should have got something.
You should have got something for the beard changed the season. Listen,
they go win this bowl game. That's 7 wins in a row, 10 wins on the season. Just saying.
Now, you see, here's my thing. I want to entertain myself. Part of me wants you to have to keep that thing up until next football season. But there's the little part of me that does have the nice guy left in me. Want to say, shave it off and start it again right before next year to give you a break.
Let's see what happens in the bowl game and go from there.
Yeah, if they win the bowl game, we got to have a conversation. Because right now, honestly, looking at you makes my face itch. All right, what's trending at 2 is sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions is coming up next here on the halftime show on the game. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head here on the game. What's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. If you haven't heard, Robbie Ashford has hit the transfer portal. Carolina backup quarterback. Not a surprise, not a shock. Ashford really has, I think, 1 year of eligibility left. He's a redshirt junior.
I believe so.
So Ashford, I believe, will have 1 season left of eligibility, and he wants to go see if he can start somewhere. Totally get it. Totally understand. Good luck, Robbie Ashford. Go get him. Thank you for your year as a backup quarterback / mentor / leader at South Carolina.
Yeah, thought he handled it well. Good attitude the entire time. And when his number was called, stepped in and did what he was supposed to do. And, he obviously came in with the intentions of, hey, I'm going to go win this job. Didn't win it. Again, good attitude throughout the year, and best of luck.
I mean, good for Robbie Ashford. And, again, we talked about this earlier multiple times in the show. Feel like the landing spot for him would be a nice group of 5 program that runs an offense that caters to his dual threat skill set, where he can make plays with his legs, and again, a streaky thrower, but there's a lot of ability there, and there's openings.
Yeah.
There.
Maybe App State.
You look at App State. That texter in the first hour was fantastic. Hey, Dal might need a quarterback at App State. Yeah, because Aguilar is a senior. Was a senior.
Perfect situation. 1 year of eligibility left as you kind of set your foundation for whatever your future after that's going to be. It'd make a lot of sense.
Absolutely. So Robbie Ashford moving on. Again, you're Dante Reno, I guess, right now will be your backup. Do you want to go get a veteran Robbie Ashford type in the portal who understands he's a backup? Put it this way. The only guys that are going to show up for that are veterans are guys that can't get starting gigs.
Yeah, I think with how established Sellers is, you're probably okay. And especially consider the fact here, look, Sellers is going to be a redshirt sophomore, which means he's draft eligible after next year.
Yep.
If he can replicate the success that he had in the back half of this season, there's a very good chance he's not here in 2026. So if Dante Reno, if Cutter Woods, whoever one of these next 2 guys, if they're your next guy, then you should probably have them ready, in position to take over should Sellers leave after next year.
And South Carolina's on the radar with some high-level quarterback prospects in future classes as well. So we'll see. And there's always the portal. You know what's good about this right now? This kind of reminds you of the NFL. When free agency hits and people overvalue quarterbacks and they overpay quarterbacks and all this other nonsense, the teams that have their quarterbacks, they go like this, thank God I'm not in that. That's kind of how you are at South Carolina right now. Thank God you're not doing the transfer portal dance to get your quarterback because you got him. And like you said, if he can continue playing the way he did in the last, 3-4 games of the season, next year looks pretty good at the quarterback position for South Carolina. And now, will you get a veteran to come in and back him up? Maybe. But remember this, Sellers did miss some time this year. He runs around. You run around, last time I checked, people hit you. And so the backup quarterback is a valuable piece.
It is.
Just in case.
And again, we only saw a little bit of Dante Reno in, garbage time at the end of some of these games against Akron and stuff, but maybe they're really high on him. Maybe they think that he's at that level or he could be a serviceable backup, or is Cutter Woods guy coming in as a true freshman? We'll see. But that option's always out there. But like you said, whoever you're bringing in knows they're not going to be the guy.
They're a clear backup. They're the clear 2. All right, little transfer portal update. There's constant stuff going on in Gamecock Central. According to On3, Hayes Fawcett, Florida transfer Kelby Collins is now in the portal. Former big-time prospect in the 2023 class. Gamecock staff, plenty familiar with Collins. He visited Columbia as a 4-star out of the state of Alabama. Maybe some familiarity there could bring some mutual interest. A couple of offensive linemen have been setting up trips to Columbia. The latest, Josh Thompson, in the portal from Northwestern. He's lining up several visits. South Carolina expected to be one of the stops. This week, Michigan State, Auburn, Ohio State. Next 2 weeks, Michigan, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. So this guy, he's doing the tour. Another couple names. We talked about Dane Key yesterday, who was, when Dane Key, 4-level high school prospect out of the state of Kentucky. He was down to Kentucky and South Carolina. Kentucky won that battle because, again, home school, home state. Dane Key now in the transfer portal. Obviously, South Carolina will be interested. I think Dane Key would be a really nice add. You bring a guy in, a veteran who has been productive and been a playmaker for a school that consistently hasn't been great at throwing the football the last few years. That'd be a good one to have. Would be Dane Key, and then you've got some other guys in that room. The Mazio Bennett's, Nick Harbor started to really make some progress. You've got a stable of young wide receivers as well. So, a Dane Key would help you set that room up nicely. Jared Brown will be back. We believe he's got more eligibility, so we'll see. Another wide receiver name, Georgia Tech's Eric Singleton, from Matt Zenitz from 24/7/CBS Sports. Matt Zenitz says that Singleton is going to visit Georgia soon, and there are folks that believe that South Carolina will do some digging and maybe make a run at Singleton as well. Singleton, 56 catches, 754 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Currently the number 1 overall prospect in the portal. And, when you say that, there are South Carolina fans that go, oh, no chance. No. I mean, if you're a wide receiver, you'd love to have an opportunity to come play at South Carolina with this quarterback, which is ironic, isn't it? This time last year, there was a wide receiver at South Carolina who finished up his year, an injury-riddled season, and wanted to transfer out because he didn't believe that, or there was an unknown at quarterback, which there was, to be fair. But now that situation has changed. When you see what Lenora Sellers has done in the last month, if you're a wide receiver, you like to be part of this offense. Because remember, Sellers was phenomenal with his feet in the Clemson win, but also through South Carolina into the comeback victory over Missouri. So he's done it with his arm and his legs late in the year. It was more legs than arm early, but he has been making more and more progress as a thrower. So could you see a Dane Key come to South Carolina to be in this offense moving forward? Sure. Now, if there are question marks because you got to figure out who your offensive coordinator is going to be and all that stuff, sure. But just on the surface, if you're a wide receiver, you want to play in an offense where that offense has a quarterback, a veteran quarterback, a playmaker at quarterback, a guy that can get you the ball. So we'll see what happens. But the really interesting one is Dane Key. What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out. There is an interesting story in Philadelphia as we switch to the NFL real quick. Very interesting story going on with the Eagles. So at the end of the Philadelphia victory over the Panthers on Sunday, A.J. Brown, wide receiver for the Eagles, was, and really Devontae Smith, not as outward, but the wide receiver core a little frustrated with the passing game. And A.J. Brown made a very short, terse comment about it. But what's to get better on the offense, passing game? Devontae Smith said everybody's going to go on the same page. Jalen Hurts had a very stern, short answer as well. And then Brian Graham, one of the leaders on the team, defensive lineman, said that basically A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, they got to put their personal feelings aside and just focus on the business of football and the business of being teammates and the business of making the offense work. So everybody's like, well, what are these guys mad at each other for? What's going on in their personal life that's affecting their professional life? Well, Nick Sirianni, the head coach, let me stop for a minute. Brian Graham then came back and said that he was mistaken. Brandon Graham, I'm sorry, I call him Brian Graham. Brandon Graham said he was mistaken, and there wasn't a personal beef. He thought there was something there, and he was wrong, and he's apologizing to everybody. So Brandon Graham said he spoke out of turn. Now, did he really speak out of turn, or did somebody get a hold of him and say, hey, bub, Let's not be waving the dirty laundry out in the yard. Nick Sirianni doesn't think there's a problem. He's the head coach. He's supposed to say there isn't a problem. But let's just be honest here. There's a problem. Is it a short-term problem? Probably. But just the way everybody was answering the questions about this, it looked like there was something going. There was some kind of beefing going on. Now, A.J. Brown, let's just start with this really quick. Forget the rest of it. If you're A.J. Brown and you're a high-level wide receiver, A.J. Brown arguably could be the best overall all-around wide receiver in the NFL. A.J. Brown should have never, ever, 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 ever broke the dirty laundry out to put it in the yard. If you got a problem with the offense, the passing game, because you're not getting touches and you're open, and I was reading about some matchups about the Philadelphia-Carolina game, and J.C. Horn has been struggling at corner this year, former Gamecock. And there was a lot of people who do matchups and scouting that thought that A.J. Brown could blow up on Sunday against Carolina because of that matchup against a struggling J.C. Horn at corner. Brown didn't blow up. Passing game struggled. There was a couple shots of Brown being open but not getting the ball. If you're upset, whether it's just because you want yours and don't care, or you think you got to give me the ball more and our offense will be better and we'll score more points and this helps us win, whatever your reason is, keep that in-house. If you're A.J. Brown, you look like a selfish diva because you won the game, by the way.
Yep.
You won the game. How many games in a row have you won?
7?
9, I think it is now.
9. That's right, 9.
You're on a 9-game winning streak. Who cares if you got 0 targets?
You're making a push to be the top seed in the NFC.
Your team won the game. You smile. You talk. You're happy. You can leave. And when all the media is gone, you can get sour puss face, get on the phone with your family, your girl, whatever, and whine and moan about your lack of targets all day. You don't do it in front of the folks who have cameras. We talk about the Brian Graham, one of the leaders of the Eagles, defensive lineman. He was on IP. He does a player show on WIP in Philly. Here's the actual audio of Graham talking about the situation with A.J. Brown and his quarterback, Jalen Hurts. By the way, these guys used to be buds, or they are buds, whatever. Here's Graham.
The person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he noticed. I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be a little better with how he responds to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business, and that's what we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing with some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let personal stuff go and let's get right for this game, because man, it's like a lot of stuff. Most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem gotta want to talk to the person other than others. Okay. That's all.
Okay, Brian Graham sounds like he knows something.
Well, yeah, I mean, and obviously 1 and 11, that's reference to their
their numbers. Jalen Hurts is 1, A.J. Brown's 11.
Sounds like Hurts is trying.
So,
got to meet me halfway.
Here's the thing. Brian Graham knows something and then apologized, said he misunderstood or he whatever. Again, I'll say it one more time. Did Brian Graham really misunderstand, or did somebody get a hold of Brian Graham and said, bro, you got to get out and apologize and stop this thing now?
Yeah.
Because now it's like the movie Speed. No brakes.
Yeah.
Can't stop.
Initially, it was Sirianni and Hurts having a problem. Now it's Hurts and A.J. Brown. Like, this, as good as this team is, if they could just get things in order in the locker room, they would really be unstoppable.
So, all right, let's say it is a personal thing with Hurts and Brown for whatever. I mean, Graham is right. Who cares? Leave it in the car. But if this is a thing where Brown's not getting the ball and Hurts not getting the ball, and now that's becoming a problem with their buddyship or whatever, again, talk, fix it. You've won 9 straight. Halftime show, it's trending at 2 here on The Game. Oh, what's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. In case you missed it, Kyle Kennard won the Bronco Nagurski Award. First Gamecock to do that. Kennard, we'll get a little bit of his speech here in a second. 11.5 sacks, 15.5 tackles for loss. Kennard had some really nice stuff to say about the folks here in Columbia. And here's a portion of Kyle Kennard's acceptance speech of the Nagurski Award.
Honored to win this award. This past offseason was a flipping stone as far as my mindset. I knew I wanted different from myself. I knew I wanted more from myself. And coming to South Carolina was the first part of me doing that. And I feel like when I got here, or I got to Columbia more so, the people that were in the building, the people that talked to me every day, just the fans in Columbia I'd see at a supermarket or something like that, they never failed to give me support and things like that. So I just want to give a huge shout out to them. And then to say that, or with saying that, I want to say that they were like the 12th man a lot of the times. Like when we had games, when I felt like I had a bad stretch of games, or when there was a controversial call that was plagued my way, I feel like they did a good job of being supportive, and that just helped me a lot through the season. So I just want to make sure I mentioned that. But I appreciate everyone who voted for me, and thanks. And I'm looking forward to coming back here next year to see who wins next year.
There you go. Kyle Kennard giving love to the fan base. Yeah, I mean, we go back to the LSU game. That's what really he's talking about. The penalty that got called on him for grabbing up around the shoulder pad area of Grant Nussmeier that wiped out a touchdown. And so, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people. Look, again, going back to it, it's one of those penalties where when you read the penalty, you go, okay, you can throw up, in your judgment, you can throw a flag if you're an official with someone grabbing near the area of the shoulder pad on a quarter, which the rule, by the way, had changed from the year before, if I remember correctly. But the fan base, supported Kennard in the whole thing and really wanted to just kind of like slice the ref's tires.
We had no idea the effect that would end up having on the season at that point in time.
I know.
Obviously, have that one back. Who knows?
Yeah, Kyle Kennard winning the Nagurski Award. So good stuff there from the South Carolina edge defender, who again, second and third round of the NFL draft is what I'm thinking. We'll see. All right, last night, wow. Just when you think the Cowboys can't cowboy in any other weird, bizarre ways, they cowboyed more last night. So it's a 2020 game. The Bengals are lining up to punt deep in their own territory. An excellent, excellent punt block put on by the Cowboys, by the way. And I think Nick Vigil is who blocked the Cincinnati punt, comes flying through, blocks the punt. Now, of course, because it's the Cowboys and this year's been a dumpster fire, of course the ball goes forward across the line of scrimmage instead of backwards.
Yep.
And when it goes forward, Amani Oruwariye sees it. He's on the Cowboy punt return team, sees the ball bouncing, and his first thought is, I'm going to snag that baby and take it to the house. Put us up. Change the game. Momentum. I'll be all over SportsCenter. So our boy Amani goes for it, but in pure Cowboy fashion of 2024, doesn't cleanly possess the football. So it bounces away from him, and guess who recovers it?
The Bengals.
The Bengals. Guess whose ball it is now, Tyler?
The Bengals.
And it leads to this touchdown from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase.
On second down, Chase is in for the touchdown. Front corner of the end zone.
So touchdown Cincinnati. They take a 27-20 lead and win the game 27-20. Again, you're taught in Pop Warner football, if the ball on a punt, on a block, goes past the line of scrimmage, don't touch it. Fire, 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 whatever you say. Get away from it. And I'm sure Coach Fossil, the special teams coach at Dallas, has taught that a billion times. But again, heat of a game, guy takes a moment, reacts, tries to make a play, doesn't work. Makes everybody look like they're football stupid. They look like their football IQ is out of Sling Blade, right? And the Cowboys lose again. But the guy that looks like has the lowest football IQ of anyone is the owner. Did you hear him post-game?
I did not. What did he say?
I'm going to paraphrase it. Well, you know, if before we put a punt block on, maybe we need to maybe second-guess that idea because we got to because something like this could happen. So maybe we shouldn't be putting a punt block on because what if the ball goes across the line of scrimmage and then we have this kind of situation? So maybe we need to look at why we had a punt block on in the first place. Seriously? So let's not try to ever block a punt again because if the ball goes across the line of scrimmage, our guys are too dopey to stay the hell away from it.
Are you surprised?
No. But again, this guy talks and you go, oh, my God, someone stop him from talking. Maybe the owner should stop him from talking. Oh, you can't. Why? He is the owner.
Things are going great in Dallas.
I heard him today, and I was like, are you serious? And I saw the clip, because I have ESPN running in my office, and it was on Get Up, I think. And they went back to those guys at the round table, and they just spent the next couple minutes crushing Jerry Jones.
As they should have.
Jeff Saturday, I think Dominic Foxworth said, we're not even going to talk about what the owner of the Cowboys just said because it's so ridiculous we can't even give it time. Jeff Saturday goes, I forgot what he said. It's the total opposite of what you just heard. But this is your problem. This is the guy in the organization who thinks he's the smartest guy in the organization.
Yep.
He doesn't even understand the basic fundamentals of punt block. I can just see Mike McCarthy pulling his special teams coach aside and say, hey Foss, yeah, what's up, Mac? We're not going to put on any more punt blocks. Why? Well, the owner doesn't think it's a good idea. Why? Because the ball might go across the line of scrimmage and we might touch it again. Are you serious? Yeah. What's up with the owner? He's the owner. That's not very smart.
No, it's not.
No, because he's the owner.
Welcome to my world. You think McCarthy might fire himself?
I'm going to tell you, if I'm Mike McCarthy, I have banked millions. I've won a Super Bowl. I won 36 games in 3 years in this nut house until this season. I'm probably at home saying, God, take care of my family, take care of my friends, make sure we're all in good health and we're happy. And by the way, please have Jerry Jones fire me. Amen. Wow. This thing is just a disaster. Wow. But maybe we should think about not putting a punt block on.
Has this been the best year for Jerry Jones quotes?
Yes. Yes. It is. The minute he talks, you're waiting for what kind of ridiculousness is going to fly out of his mouth. That makes no sense. This one actually passed the Derrick Henry one for ridiculousness.
Yeah, and then there was the threatening the radio host for asking him legitimate questions.
Yeah. It just, wow. I'm just...
the whole organization looks awful from top to bottom.
You forget they won 36 games the previous 3 years and went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You've totally forgotten anything about that. Now they look like they're an organization being run by some goober who got out of a mental hospital. With the things he says. It's like, wow, are you off your meds?
Well, he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not. All right, what's trending at 2? Sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. Greatest day in the history of the world, which is what, December 11th or 12th, Tyler? I've lost track. December 10th. 10th. That's next here on the Halftime Show on the Game. I'm sitting here right now, is like I like to do every now and then, look at thenestshowroom.com. Because, I mean, it's unbelievable. If you are looking to do things to improve your home for whatever reason, maybe you want new appliances for your kitchen dining area. Maybe you want a new tub you can just sit and chill in, like, you know, hey, who doesn't like a good bubble bath? Maybe you like lighting, maybe fixtures, maybe plumbing. Just call The Nest. 1331 Gadsden Street in Columbia. Give them a holler. 803-978-2025. Just call and say, look, I want to get all new appliances, or I'm really looking to upgrade my lighting or whatever. They'll put you in touch with one of the experts. They have 70 years of experience in that place. They'll talk to you about your visions, your goals, and your budget. You kind of talk about it, then you come in for an appointment, and you see what they have to offer, and you leave happy. It's The Nest in Gadsden and the Vista, 803-978-2025. Make that call. Make your home dreams come true from The Nest. Oh, it's the greatest day in the history of the world, which is December 10th. We try to go old school in the beginning, Tyler. Grab a little something, dig into it a little bit in the old rabbit hole of sports. On this day in 1961, Some dude named Billy Cannon of the Houston Oilers in the old AFL rushes for 216 yards, also catches 5 passes for 114 yards, scores 5 touchdowns. And the Oilers win over the Titans. Billy Cannon is a name very familiar in the world of the SEC. Obviously won the Heisman Trophy. Had the Halloween run against Ole Miss that is in every LSU football fan, I don't care if you're 5 or 105, has heard of the Billy Cannon Halloween run against Ole Miss.
Right.
Iconic. Of course, the movie with Dennis Quaid made about Billy Cannon. Billy Cannon had some off-the-field stuff also in his life. Went on, played in the AFL, had a contract dispute with the Rams. You know who the Ram general manager was at that time? He had the contract dispute with?
What year was this?
1959. How old were you?
Negative a lot.
The general manager of the Rams at that time was a guy named Pete Rozelle.
Huh.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yep, joined the newly formed Houston Oilers of the AFL. Was one of the highest paid players in professional football. After setting up the contract, $100,000. First $100,000 professional football player was Billy Cannon. Cannon also played in the Raiders, the Chiefs, retired. Had a very interesting life and career, the Billy Cannon.
Sounds like it.
On the field and off the field. There was one here off the field I want to get right when he was younger. Let me scroll back up. Because Wikipedia is never wrong.
Of course not.
Nah, let me see here. Find this. Here. Billy Cannon. In the summer of 1955, before he went to college, Billy Cannon received a 90-day suspended sentence for theft after he and some friends were caught extorting money from men whom they had seen with ladies of the evening, which is highly illegal in 1955.
Blackmail.
Yes, it's a nice way to put it. Also, he decided to go to LSU because LSU offered him a job between semesters. Other schools did not. Florida and Ole Miss were also the finalists. They did not offer a job between semesters.
Would that have violated NCAA rules back in the 50s?
I don't know.
Because while it's not for your name, image, and likeness, you are providing a pathway for the athlete to make money.
I think it was okay because I remember hearing about a job. Was it Wilt Chamberlain? Was it a UCLA basketball player? Had a job at the university where they just sat at the pool.
Like a lifeguard?
Yeah, kind of, but not really.
Job.
And they called the job underwater fire prevention.
Well, sure they're pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing you could have, some way, shape, or form back then, you could have a part-time job.
Okay.
I guess.
I mean, you could still do that now as a student athlete. It's
Right.
just the school providing the job for you is like, okay, does that cross the line?
Right. So Billy Cannon, very interesting life. In this day, 1961, had a huge day for the Houston Oilers of the AFL. The first professional athlete or football player to make $100,000 in a contract a year.
Oh, gosh, you're paying the water boy that now at the
I would
NFL
say
level.
dudes wouldn't even put on cleats for $100,000 now in the NFL. Interesting.
Cleats cost $100,000 for some of these guys.
On this day, some guy named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar scored a career-high 55 points. Milwaukee beat Boston. Of course, people forget that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was Lou Alcindor, played with the Milwaukee Bucks, won an NBA championship in Milwaukee with a guy named Oscar Robertson before the huge, gigantic trade where Jabbar was dealt to the LA Lakers. 1986, some dude named Dominic Wilkins scored 57 points in a Hawks win over the Bulls. Dominic Wilkins was ridiculous.
He's a nice guy. I've met him.
Yeah, I never met him, but I've heard a lot of people have nothing but good things to say about Dominic Wilkins.
Yeah.
Ironically, Georgia went to the Final Four in that era, the year after Dominic Wilkins left.
Yes, and they beat a Jordan, North Carolina team in the process.
Uh-huh. Yep, I mean, a guy named, highly recruited guy who played in Dominic Wilkins' shadow named James Banks was very important on that Final Four team for Georgia. Hugh Durham, right? Was Hugh Durham the head coach? I believe.
I think so.
I think so in that Final Four run. On this day in 1994, Art Monk of the then Washington Redskins set an NFL record for consecutive games with a reception. 178 consecutive games with a catch. That broke Steve Largent's NFL record. 2006, this guy not only was a high-level college player, but a Hall of Fame NFL player, LaDainian Tomlinson, on this day in 2006, breaks Sean Alexander's single-season touchdown mark by scoring his 28th TD. Scored 3 times in the game. Chargers beat the Broncos 48-20. Tomlinson was so good, man.
Oh, he was a monster.
So good. 2006, Marvin Harrison of the Indianapolis Colts becomes the 4th player in NFL history with 1,000 receptions. You want to hear the other 3 guys? Want to give it a shot?
With 1,000 receptions.
One's easy.
Jerry Rice.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder than I thought. 1,000 receptions.
One played for the Vikings for a long time.
Oh, Randy Moss.
Nope.
No.
His teammate, running mate, Chris Carter.
Chris Carter.
The other won a Heisman Trophy at Notre Dame and had a long NFL career. First name Tim. Last name Brown.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. You do all right there.
Yeah,
I mean, you think about it, there's a lot of possibilities to be honest. It really is.
When you think like, okay, greatest receivers of all time, Jerry Rice, blank.
And look, not to be mean to Tim Brown or Chris Carter, you're not putting them in that conversation.
No, you're not.
They're just, Chris Carter played a long time and had some really big reception years. And Tim Brown was around forever. So, but yeah, no, if you're saying to me, name the top 3 receivers in NFL history, I'm not bringing up Tim Brown or Chris Carter.
Probably not.
I'm not. 2008, Carmelo Anthony matches George Gervin's NBA record for points in a quarter, scoring 33 points in the third quarter of a win over Minnesota. That's back when Carmelo Anthony was a Denver Nugget. People forget he actually started his career as a Denver Nugget. And a coach who no one ever talks about anymore, but a good head coach. 2010, George Karl got his 1,000th coaching victory. 7th coach in NBA history to do that. Got to the NBA Finals with the Seattle Supersonics. George Karl was a good coach. And no one ever even, it's like George Karl never existed. Pretty interesting. Final one, 2017, Ben Roethlisberger completes 44 of a franchise record, 66 passes, throws for 506 yards and 2 touchdowns. First quarterback in NFL history to top 500 yards passing 3 times. Pittsburgh beats the Ravens 39-38 in one of those crazy Raven-Steeler games.
They can't play a normal game.
Yeah, they can't. It's always close. It's always kooky, crazy. It's weird. It's either 39-38 or 3-2.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's greatest day in the history of the world, December 10th. Firehouse Subtext, the hour 803-404-6100. That is coming up next. Halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head. We'll roll this sucker up until 3. Then Jay and Elijah will take over postgame show. By the way, Ray Tanner, still athletic director, will be on with Jay and Elijah today at 3 o'clock here on The Game. Time for our Firehouse Sub text of the hour, 803-404-6100. What do you got there, bub?
Yeah, going back to the news about Robbie Ashford. Quarter says Ashford's gotten better. Think he's much better now than what he gets credit for, just behind Sellers, and so would 98% of other quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, look, do I think Ashford improved to what we saw at Auburn? Yeah. I think he said nobody worked with him at Auburn.
Yeah, he didn't get the development that he needed. He was very adamant about that when he got here.
And I think he got work here with Dow and Mike Shula and the offensive staff. And it's so much, like we said before, a lot of it's footwork, man. Got to get your feet right. Is he a better thrower of the football than he was at Auburn? It seems like it. But is that his calling card? No, probably not. He's still a dual-threat guy who makes plays with his legs. I really do. And we had a texter last hour say, hey, could he end up at App State as a starter? Absolutely. I think that
Where's he from?
Oh, jeez.
He's from Alabama.
Yeah.
Was it Alabama? Yeah, because he started there, went out to Oregon as a four-star.
He went to Hoover. Right?
Yeah.
He's from Hoover.
Yeah, I think he went to Hoover.
Yeah.
So, again, I think we have Jay Phillips, our handoff sponsored by Little Pigs on Alpine.
Howdy.
Good to see you. We were talking about this earlier. I could see Robbie Ashford settle into a G5 program, be a starting quarterback, and have a nice little final season in college.
Actually, you guys saying going up to Boone with Dow makes a lot of sense, especially for a transitional year. Dow could go get somebody to develop while Robbie, starts next year, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to think if there's anybody, looking like DJ Braswell or some of those guys that might go up there with him too. I don't know.
I mean, the quarterback situation at App State's open. The kid Aguilar is a senior. He was a senior, had a kind of a down year. Obviously, Dow knows Ashford.
Right.
I think that texter last hour might have been Dow Loggins texting us. I don't know. But I would love to see Robbie Ashford go somewhere and start. We talked about this earlier in the show. He was brought in. He was told the truth. Look, you can compete for the gig. Here's what's up. Ashford didn't win the gig, but he played his role. He backup quarterback when needed. You had to go out there and play. Stepped in the Akron game when Sellers was out and had the game of his life. And then
might have had the single best run in the Kentucky game.
Yeah, that was a hell of a run, wasn't it?
Remember, he had some. I mean, look, he kept them in the game with LSU.
Yeah,
He played. He did a good job.
And
in
at the end of the day, when he didn't play, when there was success on the field offensively, who was usually the first guy to run out there?
Yeah, you saw it.
So good leader, good teammate, veteran mentor, and when needed, had to go on the field as a backup quarterback. He went out on the field as a backup quarterback and did the best he could in certain situations, and was okay at times.
While guys might always have that little bit of I want to play, I think sometimes any of us that have been on teams, and sometimes you just look at a dude, especially if it's your position, is like, well, he's better than me. I gotta live with it.
I'll never forget. I'll give you one real quick. You have these baseball tryouts, when Major League Baseball teams in their areas will have baseball tryouts for tryout camps for high school kids, seniors. Sure. And there's nothing worse when you go to something like that thinking you got something going on, then you see someone who truly has something going on.
Yeah, it's
you get in the car, reevaluate your entire life.
Yeah.
You go, I thought I had something going on. You know what? He's got something going on.
I told you before, all I wanted to do when I got to high school baseball, all I wanted is a baseball player. I just wanted to be Dale Murphy.
Right.
Now, again, I was never going to be 6'2", 6'3", 210 and hit a ball 500 feet. But I got to high school, and there was a kid named Robert Bryson on the JV team. And I was like, well, he's faster than me and better than me. And then I got to varsity, and there's a guy named Frank Ives. And I was like, well, Frank is better than me and faster than me. So, whatever. But I remember, too, I never had any dreams whatsoever of being a professional baseball player. But I did get to know when I was in college, I got to know some of the guys that played for the old Mets/Bombers down here at Cap City. I know some people that worked on the team, and I was fortunate enough a few times just to go play long toss with them, right? And I thought I could throw a baseball pretty far because I honestly I could. I was never going to be whatever. Okay, I had no delusions of grandeur, but at the same time. And I mean, these guys, man, I'm like, this is why you get paid. And just watching, throwing long toss with pitchers in the outfield. And I thought I could throw the ball a long way. And I realized if I really did all I could, I was 75% of the distance they could throw casually. And I was like, well. So not to I don't want to
no
but my point is sometimes you're an athlete and you're like, you know what, that dude's better than me. And
It's the first time I, ran against other people in a race. You go, you're fast. You feel pretty fast.
Yeah.
You're not there if you don't think you're fast or have some idea you're fast.
Yeah, you have some self-belief.
Then you run against people who are really fast, and you go, oh, my God. Okay.
And then you try not to let it just completely deflate you.
Now, should I grab my hamstring now to act like I blew a hammy, or
Right.
should I just go finish this and just go sulk somewhere
Even some of us that play golf with our buddies, and then maybe a buddy of a buddy, and they go yeah, he's pretty good. And you get out there and you're like, oh God.
Uh-huh.
He's you said he was good. You didn't say he was a 2 handicap.
Right.
I don't want to play with this guy anymore.
And I've always said there's a joke. It's like you watch guys play professionally, and the worst pro in anything shows up where you play and crushes you.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love these kind of conversations. But this is like when people say, the Nick Saban's best ever Bama team 10 years ago. Oh, I bet you they could beat the Lions. And then you look out there and so you get a line. I remember Heath did this one time. I probably told this story before. Heath called a buddy of his who was in the bookmaking business, and it's neutral field, just quick assessment.
0-16 Lions against Bama.
Yeah, and it's Lions minus 28.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, it's I know this much. Yes, Bama's loaded with talent, but you know what's true about every person on an NFL team? Mm-hmm. They're on an NFL team.
Right, because they were, in whatever way, shape, or form, the best of the best of the best in college.
Yeah, and even at Bama, half those dudes won't play in the NFL. They're good, but they won't play in the NFL. So anyway, that was fun.
It is funny.
That's fun.
So good luck, Robbie Ashford. Hope it works out for you, brother.
Sure. And good luck for all of us who play against scratch golfers.
What's this guy you're talking to at 3 o'clock?
We have Ray Tanner on. I'm very excited. Coach doesn't want me to wax all sentimental, so I won't, as far as he knows.
So at what point are you going to wax all sentimental?
Tune in.
Jay, Elijah, Ray Tanner, post-game show next. Tyler, nice job, my man. We'll do it again tomorrow. Halftime show in the game.